Well, I am a curious animal. Now, the last video I did on this channel, I had showed these. I was in Fleet Farm, and they were selling these 4570 Cowboy loads, Cowboy Action, for $35. And my first impulse, well, I would never buy them, and really, I wouldn't, except I have a great curiosity. After I left Fleet Farm, on the way home, I kept thinking, turning over in my mind what they could have been loading these with. Because they've got to be pretty low power for that kind of rigmarole. But, normally if I load light 4570, I'll use Trail Boss. And you can load Trail Boss right up to the base of the bullet. Just anything short of compression will work safely in any of these guns. But, if you have Trail Boss, it's a light, fluffy, it's very hard to work with. So if somebody's doing it on a commercial basis, I don't think you'd want to do that. And if you shake these, the powder moves in them, you can hear it clunking back and forth. Now, they're using a 405 grain bullet, but I don't know who makes it. But I don't think it's the Lee bullet. This is the Lee bullet, and they've got that very definite shoulder there that you can crimp. And I use the Lyman dies because the crimp that the Lyman die makes pushes it down very evenly right under that shoulder. And I like that. It makes you good. Now the crimp really looks like the Lee factory crimp die, except the Lee one generally, you can see the little seams where there's those 4 fingers, but this isn't 4. This appears to be 5. I'll have to look on my old Lee set, but I'm pretty sure they were 4. But there again, that the bullet isn't the same because it doesn't have that definite shoulder that I do really like that the Lee bullet has. They appear to have a good crimp on them, but there is that lip, that when you go to load them can catch. But the thing that finally got me to, because that was like a couple of weeks ago when I looked at these and immediately dismissed them. But on the way home, I kept turning over in my mind, curious. I want to pull one apart and see what they're using for powder and how much powder. Because the way it's moving, okay, a lot of times on the light loads, they'll use like a fast-burning pistol powder, a small amount, and then put some filler in there. The way it's moving, there isn't filler in there. And there isn't a lot of empty space. If you use some powders in a small amount, it can cause problems. Some powders can be position sensitive, like if you have the rifle pointing down, the powder all runs to the end, you get weird ignition. But this is pretty full of whatever they're using. The saving grace, that finally turned me to get them, this was like 2 weeks later, I guess. If I happened to be in town, I was looking for something else, and I walked by them again, and I thought, by God, it's been bugging me what they could have been doing with these. But the saving grace is it is Starline brass. So there is a certain value to that. You know, if it had been any other brass, I wouldn't have went. But I decided to go ahead and get them. And I'm going to play around, tear some apart, run some over the chronograph, see what kind of velocities they get out of them. And I'm hoping I can match up, you know, just to figure out what powder's in there, just to satisfy my curiosity. But I've got at least 30 different types of powder. I should be able to match something up. You know, I'm perfectly satisfied doing, like I say, with the Trail Boss. But it is hard to work with Trail Boss is, in that it's so, you know, it's that little flattened donuts that are really fluffy and just very hard to measure and stuff. So it's got me really curious. So I want to test some apart. I'm going to play with some. You know, like I say, worst case scenario, well, I got a certain amount of value. That's got to be $10 worth of brass. You know, it helps a little. Because I like Starline. Well, I've had really good experience with Starline, but I do like, you know, that Lyman die set that I use now. Because like say, when I used to do it with the Lee set, okay, these are new brass, so it's not a problem. But a lot of times you will get that after they've been fired once, and then you resize them, then you have to expand them to get the bullet in. You end up with, you can see where the end of the bullet is. It gets a wasp waist to it. Now that Lyman actually has a plunger that goes down in there. It makes a nice even. I do really like that crimp though. But I like that Lee bullet. And you know, these are the same weight, but it's a different design bullet. A slight difference there. But it'll be interesting to pull it out and see what it looks like. But that's what I haven't bought a box of new ammunition for a long time. Usually when I do, it's if I get a new gun and I'm trying to get brass for it. But this is one of them things where there's a lot of these little boutique loading things. And actually, like say, these being at $35 a box isn't as outrageous a lot of them. What I was actually looking to see if by chance they carried any 348 Winchester. I got a cousin who bought a Model 71, and I'm getting set up to load for that. And they're, like I say, boutique again. And he's got a habit of buying guns that are like that you know, end up costing about $5 a shot for him, and he doesn't reload. So that gets a little out of hand. So there are companies that make up ammunition for guys like that. But I was able to find brass and a die set and everything, so I'll be able to do that. Bullets are kind of an odd thing for that, because there again, that's one of them where it's got a 1 in 12 twist on it. Really not conducive to lead. Jacketed bullets for it. You know, I think what I ordered some Barnes. They're about $1 a bullet. Now, I might play with some cast in it. You know, load up some cast using, you know, okay, the 200 grain bullet that I modified a mold for to use in a 351, and I made a sizing die to bring that down. I can use that sizing die with the full 200 grain. You know, I modified it to 180, but I have another mold of that 200 grain. I think I could size that down to working at 348 without too much trouble. So that's an ongoing project, but this is something I really want to do. I'm really curious to pull one of these apart. But I'll go into that. The problem is I've got to do it on this channel. So this is kind of an introduction to what I'm doing to this because I'm limited to 15 minutes on this channel. So to do it, I'm going to have to do a lot of videoing and then do a lot of editing to bring it down to the 15 minutes. But that's doable. Yeah. But we'll see. I'm not into the Cowboy Action thing. I understand it, I guess, but not something that really appeals to me. But a light load for plinking, like I say, that I do make use of, but that's where I load with the Trail Boss. This isn't. This is, any of my Starline brass I always load with a 4064. They're the full power loads that are a full power. But I'll, like Winchester or Remington brass, then I'll load with Trail Boss. So I can always tell them apart. So like I say, worst case scenario, okay, I got brass. I got some more brass. But it will satisfy my curiosity because I tell you, on the way home, after I did that video showing these, I kept running this over in my mind and thinking, I should almost turn around and go back, but I hate to go back. So I waited, 2 weeks and I was in town again, so now I've got them. But it doesn't say anything on here, velocity-wise, or you have no idea what you're dealing with. So I'll have to run them over the chronograph. I'd be curious to test these against the Trail Boss loads that I make. But it'll be a project. And I guess, like I say, it's just to satisfy my curiosity. And, well, okay, if I got $10 worth of brass, because I think they're 4570s are about 50 cents a piece. The 348, they're a hell of a lot higher. But I got some coming. Not easy to find. It's the kind of thing that they make and then they don't make again for a while, so you got to search. But I lucked out. I got everything I need coming for that. I'll be here on Monday.